Imagine a word so powerful it doesn't need a translation. A word that exists in almost every language on Earth, from the high-tech hubs of Silicon Valley to the remotest villages in the Amazon. It's the first word spoken on the moon by Buzz Aldrin. It's the default button on every computer system ever built. It isn't hello, yes, or no. It's okay. But where did it come from? If you guess ancient Greek, Latin, or a profound philosophical treatise, you'd be wrong. Okay didn't begin with a bang, it began with a snicker. It started as a 19th century meme, a sarcastic misspelling by a bored newspaper editor that accidentally infected the global lexicon. This is the story of how a forgotten inside joke became the most spoken word on the planet. To find the birth of okay, we have to travel back to Boston, March 23, 1839. The world was a very different place, but the youth of the 1830s had something in common with us today. They loved slang, and they loved abbreviations. In the late 1830s, a bizarre fad swept through the newspapers of the American Northeast. It was a trend of comical abbreviations, basically the 19th century version of or OMG. But there was a twist. They intentionally misspelled the phrases for comedic effect. They used OW for all right, which means all right. They used KY for no use, meaning no use. And they used GTHD for give them does how does, which means give them the devil. In this atmosphere of linguistic playfulness, Charles Gordon Green, the editor of the Boston Morning Post, published a small satirical article about a group called the Anti-Bell Ringing Society. In it, he wrote the letters OK and followed them with the parenthetical explanation, Oll Korrect. Most of these abbreviations died out within weeks. Nobody says OW or KY today. So why did OK survive? It needed a vector, a way to jump from a local joke to a national phenomenon. That vector was the 1840 US presidential election. The incumbent president, Martin Van Buren, was up for re-election. Van Buren's nickname was Old Korrect, named after his hometown in New York. His supporters formed the OK Club to campaign for him. Suddenly, OK wasn't just a joke in a Boston paper, it was a political slogan. It was double-edged, it meant Old Korrect, but it also implied he was all correct. Van Buren actually lost the election, but the word won. The campaign had plastered OK across newspapers, banners, and buttons nationwide. It was stuck in the American consciousness. But politics only explains why Americans knew it. How did it cross oceans? The answer lies in the greatest technological leap of the era, the telegraph. Invented around the same time OK was gaining steam, the telegraph required operators to send messages via pulses of electricity. Speed and clarity were everything. OK was a miracle for telegraph operators. Why? Because of the letters themselves. O and K are phonetically distinct. In Morse code, O is 3 long dashes, and K is dash. It's almost impossible to misinterpret, even through heavy static or a weak signal. It became the standard acknowledgement signal. By the time the 1870s rolled around, it was the professional standard for every rail office and business telegram in the world. Linguistically, OK is what experts call a neutral affirmative. Most languages have a word for yes, but yes is often heavy. It implies a commitment, a deep agreement, or a formal stance. OK, on the other hand, is the ultimate low-stakes word. It doesn't mean something is great, and it doesn't mean it's bad. It simply means I hear you, or the status quo is acceptable. It fills a psychological gap in human communication. There's also a phonetic secret to its success. Most languages have an O sound and a K sound. Unlike the English TH or the French R, which are difficult for non-native speakers, OK is easy for any human mouth to produce. It's acoustically robust. As American culture, movies, and music began to export themselves globally in the 20th century, OK rode along as the ultimate stowaway. It was the easiest English word to learn, and because it was so useful, people just kept it. When the computer age arrived, the joke from 1839 found its final, permanent home. Early software designers needed a label for the button that confirmed an action. Yes felt too definitive, execute felt too aggressive. They settled on OK. Every time you dismiss a notification, confirm a download, or agree to terms and conditions, you are participating in a linguistic tradition started by a sarcastic editor in Boston nearly 200 years ago. It's the bridge between human speech and machine logic. It's the all-clear signal for the digital world. It is a rare thing for a joke to survive 2 centuries. Usually, humor is the first thing to evaporate as time passes. But OK was different. It was a joke that happened to be the most efficient piece of communication ever designed. It survived the death of the newspaper fads, it survived the failure of a presidency, and it mastered the telegraph, the telephone, and the internet. So, the next time you find yourself in a foreign country, unable to speak the local tongue, just remember those 2 letters. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most profound things in human history aren't the result of grand design, they're just a bit of fun that happened to be, well, all correct.